So in the last video, we were working on the validations of our app, which is for the sign up form, which is set up within our sign up activity. And so in this video, we're gonna work on posting or registering our user in the database, connecting to a RESTful API, which we set up within our SpringBoot project, which was the project that we created in the, if I'm not mistaken, in the second video. So that's what we're going to be doing within this video. So now, just to point out, currently I'm working on a different machine as to where that project was set up. So basically what we're going to do is, or rather, let me show you. So I've remotely connected to that machine where that project, that SpringBoot project, is running. It's just going to show now, just give it a second, where that particular SpringBoot project is running, which is this machine here. So I've connected to this machine using TeamViewer, and so therefore the project, I already have it running. As you can see here, this is where we set up our test endpoint, and then as you saw within that second video where we were setting up this particular SpringBoot project, we created this API to register a user within the database. And so this is the project or the application that we are going to be connecting to register our user from our app. So with that being said, to take one more thing, just take note of this machine, this computer that I've connected to remotely via TeamViewer. The IP address for that machine, that's what you see there. Obviously you're gonna have to check what your the IP address of your machine is, where this particular project is running. So just take note of that. But my IP address on this machine that I've connected to via TeamViewer is it's 192.168.0.104, and remember, this is a Windows machine that I'm connected to, and currently I'm working on a machine that's running Linux. So I just wanted to make sure that you're clear on that so that you're not confused. Like I said, the machine that I'm currently working on is currently low on spec. That's why I can't run the Android emulator every time we do a test, and that is why and then also I had issues with that machine when it comes to recording, because the microphone on there was acting up and so forth. And so that is why I chose to work on this machine, this Linux machine. And so therefore I've connected remotely to that to my other Windows machine where we have that SpringBoot project running. Just to also show you, I already have it running here, and it's running on port 980, as you can see there. I hope you can see there, right? And so this is the machine that we're going to be connecting to show you that we can connect to this machine. I'm going to minimize this TeamViewer window now to show you that I can connect to this machine. I have Postman already running on my machine, and there is a test endpoint that we created on that machine. I'll show you now, just a second. Wait. So it's going to show just now. So basically we're just gonna do a test to show you guys that that endpoint does work. And so as you can see, I was trying to test earlier on, and I did get a response. If this thing can just wake up, as you can see down here, I did get a response to say the test endpoint is working. And so and then again, as you can see, I hope you guys can see my mouse cursor. That's where my that's my IP address there, the 192.168.0.104, the one that I was showing you guys earlier on. And then also the port number, as you can see, it's 980. And then I did get a response to say the test endpoint is working. So from my machine, we can connect to that that PC where the SpringBoot project is running. And so that's pretty much it. I just needed to clarify that. So I'm just going to close Postman. I don't know if you guys want to see that, but I'll click on this to say send, and then we'll see now it's just gonna send that post again to show that we are getting a response from that machine. Okay, my machine is unfrozen now. Let me just click on send again, and then as you can see, we are getting a response from that server, that application that we set up. So I'm going to close Postman because obviously, as you can see, my machine is struggling here. So just another thing to point out, guys. The library, I'm gonna open that TeamViewer window again. So the library that we're using to connect to our API endpoint is going to be a library called volley. So when I search for volley, for some odd reason it used to be available within the Android developer documentation, but for some odd reason, I don't know if it's Bing, but for some odd reason it's directing me to all these other links. Even in Google search, it does the same thing. But in any case, it used to be available within the Android developer documentation, and then also now when you connect to it, when you search for it, it takes me to this particular GitHub repo or link, and then therefore luckily it shows the exact same information that you need in order to set up volley on your Android device. So so this is the documentation here, and then as you can see, this is the dependency we need that we need to inject into, or that we need to copy and paste into our dependencies library, because it's an external library, so we need to import this dependency in there. So even though here it shows Groovy and Kotlin, you can still copy this very same dependency and paste it in within your Android project. And then the other thing I need to just show you quickly is how to send a simple request. So to send a simple request, I'm going to show you the Java version because that's what we're going to use. So to send a simple request, this is the object that we need to set up. There are various kinds of objects. There is a string object, there is also a JSON object, and then there's also I think an array object or an array request that you can set up. But in this project you will see we're going to use this one, the string request, because after we register the user, the only request we need to, or the only response we need from our server is to say whether or not the user registered or not. Okay, and then what else? And that's basically it. But when we log in to the server, when we try to log in using that API, we're going to use a different object. But you will see that when we get to the point where we have to log into the system. So for now, let me just this is all you need. Oh, sorry, the one last thing you need is, if you come back here to the developers library, the developers documentation, there's another permission that we need to set within our Android app, which is this one here. So we need to enable this permission because we're making an internet request, so we have to have this permission in our in our manifest file. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. So look, I'll add these links in the description below so that you guys have access to them, so that you are able to so that you're able to have these resources on your site. So I'm gonna minimize this, and then what do I need to do? Oh guys, yeah, so currently I have that Spring Boot project running here, as you can see, like I showed you here earlier on, but I'm gonna stop it now because I want to make one last change. So remember when we were testing, we were using Postman, and then we only needed a response to say user registered successfully, right? So here I just want to change this particular string to say success, and then this one here at the top I'm gonna say failed, right? So this is the string we're going to be looking into when we set up our Android project. The string that we're going to be looking for when we register our user. Okay, so again, just remember this is on my other machine where I've connected remotely. Alright, so I'm going to minimize this TeamViewer window, and I'm going to come back here. So like you just saw, I copied that permission that we saw on the Android documentation. So I'm going to open the manifest file, which you're going to find under app and then manifest, and then if I double click there, it needs to open this application. So here at the top of where it says application, I'm going to paste in that permission that we just copied, which is that one there. So if you didn't have it, just pause the video, copy or what you call it, type out what you see there, and then once we're done, that's pretty much it when it comes to the manifest file. So we're going to close the manifest file, and then there's one last thing I want us to do in regards to the validation. So remember, we have the confirm field and the password field, right? So the one thing I forgot to do within that video was to also add another validation to see whether or not the password matches the confirm field. So that's the one last change that I want to do here. So I'm going to say if, I'm going to say else, if, and then open close brackets, right? Then I'm going to say password underscore p dot equals, right? And then we're gonna say confirm underscore p. So we still need to check and see if these two passwords match. Then I'm gonna set the error message only to the password field, right? And paste it there and say passwords do not match. That's the one last error. And then, as you saw within the last video, the confirm field, even when it's empty, what this does is that it still sets an error message to the password. So I think we need to change this as well. We just need to add another if else statement just to make sure that so that it doesn't confuse the user. So I'm going to say false here, then I'm going to say else if, right? And then I'm just going to remove I'm going to remove this part here, right? And then I'm going to paste it in that other else if block, right? And then just move this, or actually let's just copy this and then remove that part there, and then just paste it here. Alright, so if the password field is empty, it'll set that error message, otherwise it won't. If the passwords don't match, it'll set that error message, otherwise it won't. And then if the confirm field is empty as well, it'll set that error message, otherwise it won't. Alright, that's the one last thing we needed to do there. Okay, so so remember, when we click our sign up button, it's gonna run this function here, process form fields. So what we need to do is come in here where we set up that method, which is process form fields. Alright, so for now, let's say, so down here, let me just make sure we comment out as to where the error messages end. Okay, so I already still have that script that I used to set up our post. So the first thing we need to do, oh yeah, sorry about that guys, we need to copy, we need to paste that dependency within our Android Gradle file. So we're gonna come to the one here, the one that says module user underscore v1.app. This is the one we need to come into, and then here, right here where it says dependencies, we need to just come here at the bottom and just paste that that library. So you can just pause the video and copy that library as it is, and then after you've pasted in this dependency, click here at the top where it says sync now, and then we're going to click sync now, and then it's just going to import that that library within our project. So while it does that guys, I'm just going to give it a second to do that. I'm going to pause the video, and then once it's done, we will then go back to our sign up activity to start setting up the object that we need to register our user. So one moment for me please. Alright guys, I'm back. Okay, so my project is done downloading the volley library, and so now what we need to do is, again, we're going to come back here within our process form fields method. Alright, so like I said before, I still have that object that I used within the first video, so I've got my notes open here and I'm gonna follow the exact same steps that I used there. Alright, so first thing we need to do is instantiate the request queue. So I'm gonna put a comment here and say instantiate the request queue. Okay, did I spell that right? Queue. Yeah. Okay, and then now we're gonna say request queue, and then you'll see now it'll pick up the volley libraries request queue. So okay, it's not picking up there. Let me just type it out. Oh, there it is. Okay, and then we'll just say queue, and then equals to volley dot new request queue, and there it is there. And then we're gonna say what is this, sign up. We're gonna need to add in the context, which is sign up activity dot this, right? So this is the object that we're gonna call at the end of our request object, but you will see that shortly. So that's the first thing we needed to do. And then here we're going to set the URL that we are going to be posting to. So it's going to be right, and then here we're going to set it as a string object, and then we're going to call it URL, and then we're going to say equals to so remember, it's going to be HTTP, right? And then 192.168.0.104. That's the IP address of my machine, and then the port number is going to be 9080, if you remember. All right, and then what we are posting to is, if I'm not mistaken, it's API API /v1 and then /register, right? Let me just make sure that that is the correct one. Just hold on. Okay, so it's user register, so that's the URL we need. So it's user and then register. Okay, all right, so it's API v1 and then user register. Okay, so that's the URL we're going to be posting our data to. Now here is where we create our request, our string request object. So I'm going to put a comment here again. I'm going to say okay, so what we need to call is string and then request, and then wait, what? Request, that's the one there by volley. All right, and then we're just gonna call it string request, right? And then that is gonna equal to new string request. Okay, so just bear in mind as to where this is ending. So let me just copy this here, because there's a lot that's going to be happening within these, because there's a number of anonymous objects that are going to be set up within this request object. So I'm just going to put that there and say end of string request object. So now I'm going to click within this method, within this object, right? So what we then now need to add is request, right, dot method, and then dot post. And then dot post. right? Let's just import this. Make sure it's the com.android.volley one, right? And then the same thing here. What is it? Oh yeah, I actually named that wrong. It's supposed to be capital M. Method, right? Again, make sure it's the com.request.volley request method. Let me move that last part, right? Okay, and then the second parameter we need to add is the URL. So the URL obviously is coming from this one here, right? And then now there's going to be an anonymous we're gonna need to call the the response object now. So now we have to say new, and then we're gonna call the response listener. As you can see, that's the one there. Just click on that, press enter, and then it should have this. So now I'm just gonna move this onto the next line because it's not gonna be. Oh, actually, let me close this. Let me just So this is the response object, and then this is where we're gonna get our response, right? So now here is, let me see. I just need to be sure this is where the request object ends, and then let's see here. All right, so now I need to put a comma right after that response listener, right? And then the next object we need to add on there is the error listener. So it's going to be new, and then as you can see, the IDE picks it up, and then we're going to click on this one that says error listener and then press enter. Okay, so that's basically it for our response object. I mean, for our on response and on our error response objects. Okay, so let's see. In here, let me see. Okay, so in here is where I'm just gonna move this toast message that we get here, right? We're gonna paste it in here, right? This is where we're gonna get as you saw, the message that says this was actually supposed to go up here. Yeah. Okay, so this is the message that we're gonna get once we register the user. The other thing that we're gonna do in here, once we get the success response, this is where we're gonna just do all the actions that we need. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is to check if since this is returning a string, we're gonna say response, right, dot we're gonna check equals. Remember we said success, right, within our SpringBoot project. So we're gonna say if it equals to that. Actually, let me say equals ignore case. That's the one I'm looking for. So if it says success, then we do our actions within here. Oh yeah, so then we're gonna take this toast message and put it up here. So that's it, and then here we're gonna say end of response if block. Okay, the other thing I want us to do within here is to get the first name. So what we're gonna do is take away the what is this thing doing? We're gonna take away the text. We're gonna say first name dot set text to null, right? What is this now? Okay, and just copy this, paste there. Alright, then we're gonna say last name and then email, and then password, and then the other one is going to be the confirm field. So as you saw within the demonstration video, when you click if everything is in order, after you click on the sign in or sign up, it shows the text message registration successful, but then the information that was there before, it doesn't get removed, so it stays there. So it's possible for a user to click multiple times, and then you don't want that, since we're doing a post request to this URL, and then if we click too many times, it's just going to keep posting data. So here what we're doing is we're removing that text after, if the user is successful, and then after that they will have to fill in all of that information again, because we do have our validations here to check if the fields are empty or not. All right, that's the one thing we needed to do in there. Now here in the response, we don't really need to do much. You can just say we can just copy the toast message here and then just post and say registration, we can just say unsuccessful. That's it. Anything else, you might need to log this information using logcat or something like that, but we don't need to do much in here in the response thing. Let's see, that's it there. So now how do we post the information that we get from the user, right? So now back here in the string request, right at the end here, as you can see, our semicolon is ending right there, right? So what we need to do right before that ending closing tag, we need to open two curly braces as if we're adding an object, and then here within this curly braces there's another method that we need to call in here, which is a map. Let me just type it out and I'll show you. So let's say protected, and then this is the one we need here, the protected map string get params, right? And then press enter, and then it will generate this this object here. Okay, so what we need to now then do in here is add the details that we're getting from this user in here in a map, in a map. So what we're gonna do now is, let's just remove this. So we're gonna say let's say map, right, and then string, right, and then string, and then you're gonna say params equals to new hash map, right? Okay, and then from here we're gonna add those parameters. Let's just return it here at the bottom, params, right? Okay, so here we're gonna say params, right, dot put Okay, so guys, just remember the name that you're placing here, it needs to be the name, the same name as I'll show you now. So again, I'm gonna go back to my team viewer where I have my where I've remoted into my machine. So as you can see, the parameter we are expecting here is first name, and then that name that you place there in between the brackets of this annotated request param, it needs to be the same as the parameters that you place here within this params.input, because when we post, or what this thing is going to do is post the parameters that we've placed into this map object. So just make sure you do that. So I'm going to copy this now and paste it a couple of times. right? So the next one we need is last name, and then we're going to change that to last name, and then email, right? And then actually we don't need 5, we need 4, because we don't need to pass the confirm field. We don't need that. Okay, so now we gonna say password here, okay, and then password here. What is this thing doing? Okay, so remember, these are the values that we're getting from our input fields that we've set up on our sign up activity. So we need the first name, last name, email, and password. And then again, make sure those parameters, these key values are the same as the ones that you see here: the first name, the last name, email, and password. Now, even though here we're doing some validation, we don't need to, because we're already doing that within the app, but it doesn't hurt to do some checks. But this is not going to matter, because obviously before even posting data to this to the Spring Boot REST API, we're already doing the checks here within our application itself. So I mean up here. So but in any case, we're going to leave it there and then just keep it as it is. So this parameter, I mean this object here, is going to post the information that we need to that Spring Boot, this object here, I mean this REST endpoint here, which is user register. Again, we just need to make sure we have everything in order. So it's API v1 user register, right? And that's the URL that we have up here: API v1 user and then register. So we're posting that information down here to this URL, and so we should get a response of success or failed. If we don't get success, obviously it's going to jump on error response. And so again, the string object needs to be the same as the one down here, you see there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So now again, the other thing I need to do is connect my physical device to this project, and then I'm going to install the app onto my phone, and then again I'm going to do the tests to see if everything is in order. And then if I do manage to post, you will see then with the clip that if everything is in order, I'm going to insert that clip at this particular moment, and then you will see for yourself if the app is working or not, and then if we have successfully registered the user. If the user has been successfully registered, what we're then going to do is come back to our machine here, log into the database to see if our user has been registered. So let me just close this. Now, as you can see here at the top, my Samsung phone is already connected to the project. So now what I'm going to do is, let's see. Oh, no, sorry guys, the last thing I forgot to do was, remember at the beginning we created this request queue object here. So now what we need to do is copy this, and right at the end of this, we need to add this request object, and then we need to say add request, and then the request we're adding in here is the name of this string request queue. So that's what we need to do. So let's copy that and then paste it in here. So you have to do this, otherwise this won't post anything. So just remember, we created that request queue over here at the top, correct? We created our URL that we're posting to, we created our object that we are using. So we've got the string request, we've got the request method with it, which is post, we've got the URL, which is this, and then the response listener, as you can see there, even though it's grayed out, that's the one we need. And then within that request listener object, there's a method in here which is on response. So if we do get a success message from our Spring Boot backend, these are the actions that are going to take place, and then the text is going to be set to null, and then here we're going to display a toast message to say registration successful. Otherwise we will get this message over here that says registration unsuccessful, and then that's on the on response error listener, by the way, even though it's grayed out, that's the object that's going to be used if we do get any errors. And then obviously the data that we need to post comes in here within the map object that we're getting here. So as you can see, those are the key and value pairs that we added, and then we return it here. Then after this is done, we need to add that to the queue that we added here at the top here, which is the volley dot new request queue. And then we add that particular, this whole object here, this whole string request object over here into this queue. So that's the last thing we need to do. Make sure you do that. Okay, so I think everything is in order, and now I'm gonna install this application on my phone, and then we're gonna test and see if everything is working, to see if I can post any information to my database. Now while it's doing the Gradle build, I'm gonna pause the video, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check it on my phone, and then again I'll insert the clip right after this moment, and then if everything is in order, we can then close off the video. But otherwise, if there's any errors, we will then address them afterwards. One moment for me, please. Alright guys, I'm back. Okay, so as you saw within that clip, we have a bit of an issue with the password. So for some odd reason, the password, it keeps on saying what you call it, passwords do not match. So obviously our implementation here is wrong. So the issue here is that I forgot to actually put an exclamation mark to say that if the password does not equal confirm, then set the error. So because this is true, that's why it's giving that error. So I'm going to then come here and then put that exclamation mark and then save. Now the other thing that I noticed was that when I put in the incorrect password, it did try to register the user, but it did give an error. That's because I forgot to actually run the, where's that project? I forgot to run the project where I have my SpringBoot REST endpoint running. So I'm just gonna run that project now, and then while that project is running, again we're gonna come back to our Android project, and since we rectified the password issue, I'm then gonna again reinstall that application and test again. Hopefully this time everything is in order for us to register the user. And so therefore, if everything is correct, then what we can do, I'll insert another clip to show you whether or not everything went well. Otherwise, again, we will come back and address whatever errors we encounter. Okay, so I'm gonna just refresh the install, and then again I'm gonna pause the video. When I come back, hopefully everything is in order. Again, one moment for me, please. Alright guys, I'm back. Okay, so as you just saw within the clip that I just inserted now, we are still unable to register the user. But even though everything else in terms of the validation, it works fine. Okay, so there's one last thing that I forgot to add onto our manifest file. Now, in the first project, I never got this issue, but then for some odd reason, in the project that I showed you guys, the previous project that I showed you guys, and this current one, I'm getting this error, which I'm going to show you now. So while I paused the video, I added these two lines within the in response on error response method. So I added these two lines over here to see where the actual problem is. So I forgot about this. So if I were to show you now, if you check there, you see it's given this error that says clear text HTTP traffic to this server over here is not permitted. Now to rectify this, there's another line or attribute that we need to add onto our manifest file. So you just go to app manifests and then click on the manifest file, and then here within the application what you call a tag, you just have to come in here and say Android, and then you see clear uses clear text traffic. Just say true. Let me just verify that. Clear uses clear text traffic true. Yeah, that's correct. So just add this also into you go into the manifest file, and then here in this tag that says application, just add this attribute here and then save it. So in the previous project I had this error as well, but then to rectify it I had to add this particular what you call it attribute there. So again, just remember what I did was on the on error response method, I added these two lines, and that's how I was able to see what the actual error is in terms of what I was getting from the server. So you can do that as well if you want to, but yeah. So again guys, I'm gonna launch the application. I'm gonna reinstall the application and then test again to see if everything works, and then again I'll insert the clip right after this moment just to show you what's happening, and then again we will come back and test and come back and see if there's anything else we need to address. Again, I'm gonna install the project, pause the video, and then we'll check it out once I'm back. One moment for me please. Alright guys, so as you just saw within the clip, we got our response message that said our toast message that said registration was successful, and as you saw, it also removed the text that was in the that was already in the form. So hopefully we've managed to successfully register the user. So now what we need to do is come back to our team viewer, and then we're gonna go and into our database. I already have it open here. So as you saw, I registered with a user named Alex James. So once I refresh this, that's the user we should see after this row. So let me just go up and say select all from users, and there you have it. So as you can see, we managed to register our user. So looks like our registration was successful. Let me just minimize this. Alright guys, so I hope you were able to follow along with what I was doing. Just remember, we're using a volley library to do this. If I didn't mention before, there are ways to do this without volley. It's just that with volley, because it's in the developer Android developer documentation, that's why I went with it. And secondly, because there's various objects that you can use in order to create to post to various RESTful endpoints. So there is one called StringRequest, there's one called object or array request, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see, let me just say array okay, so we have JSON array request, right? That's the one there that you can see it. And then we have JSON object request. So depending on what you're expecting from your RESTful endpoints, you can basically use these, whether it's the JSON array request or the JSON object request or the string request. So it depends on you on what your RESTful endpoint is returning. And because ours is returning a string, we went with a string request. But in the next video, you will see when we work on the login form, we're going to use an object request from JSON. I mean from volley. We're going to use an object request to get the user, to validate the user, and so therefore you will get to see one of those requests as to how they work. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you were also able to follow along with what I was doing, and you were also successful in registering your user within your app. So that's it for the video, guys. Again, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys within the next video. Thanks again for watching, and cheers for now.